We're back. We're live. And this is Elgin Subway Surfer Bowling, your creative caricature marketing consultant. I'm going to talk today about a very valuable lesson that was taught to me by one of my first agents, and his name is Larry Young Stein. Larry Young Stein was a party entertainer and an agent, magician, and DJ who had a business in Brooklyn called Having a Party. He had two stores, one in the 90s in Canarsie, which was in my neighborhood, and the other in Bay Ridge, Having a Party. Uh, I am eternally grateful to Larry because when I came into his office, he didn't know me from Adam. Let me tell you the story. I was working at the Canarsie Courier as a graphic artist, hoping to make some kind of contacts in the art world, and I was in charge of making display ads, full page, quarter page, half a page, full page ads, and I was good at it. I used to get the jobs that some people didn't want because they were too busy. And one day, Larry came to our office and dropped off his advertising materials, and it was it was just full of a lot of stuff that he wanted to put into this half-page ad. And so I raised my hand and I said, I'll do it. And my plan was, I knew that Larry was a party entertainer, and I had done some street caricature, and I said, this is an opportunity for me to do caricature for this entertainment company. So I did the job as best I could, which was fabulous because I was good at my job. I really was. I really loved it. And I walked over to his office and said, how'd you like the ad? And Larry, you gotta know Larry to know this is vintage Larry. Larry says to me, I didn't like it. I haven't gotten any business from it. And he started laughing, this big laugh. And I said, well, I noticed that you have all kinds of entertainers here. You have clowns, you have magicians, you have DJs, you have firewalkers, you've got all of these trapeze artists. I'm being facetious. I hope you know that. Lion tamers. Okay, now I'm done. I said, but I noticed that you don't have any caricature artists. And he says, what's that? What's a caricature artist? And I said, well, a caricature artist is, the best thing I could say is, if you ever seen those cartoons, those sport cartoons in the Daily News or the New York Post, well, a caricature artist usually is hired to make fun of those people. And he said, show me. Because that's the kind of guy Larry was. Show me. Now, I brought a friend to the store along with me, and he asked me, he whispered in my ear and said, have you ever done a caricature before? Like this? And I said, I'm going to do it now. And so I sat Larry down in his office, or rather, Larry sat me down in his office, and it took me like 5 minutes to draw his picture. He takes it, he looks at it, he turns back to me and says, it doesn't look like me. And I was stunned because I had realized if he doesn't think it looks like him, I've failed the interview. But Larry brought it to his son, who worked in the company also, and his son immediately started laughing and showed it to his brother. They both started laughing, and Larry said, "You've got the job." That's the kind of guy Larry was. No contracts that I had to sign. We shaked hands. And he said, you've got the job. And we had a beautiful, I'm telling you, a beautiful relationship when we worked together. I love the guy. One thing Larry told me, and it was this: be professional and do your job. He said, you're not just an artist, you're in the entertainment business. You are an entertainer who does caricatures and funny pictures. Don't just think of yourself as some guy that draws. And that is such valuable information that I want to pass on to you, caricature artists. You're not just an artist. You're not just some guy who draws funny pictures of people with big noses. You are an entertainer. Okay? when you say that you are an entertainer, alive, and you're involved in live entertainment, and your pictures will last on people's walls and on their refrigerators long after they remember their favorite song that the DJ did. But I digress because I want to get into this other thing. Okay, so being a professional. It didn't take me long to realize that in the caricature business, there weren't a lot of black people. I mean, that was just something that it seemed like black people just did not do. I mean, we would tell, you expected us to be dancers, you expected us to be DJs, you expected us to be MCs, but caricature artists, that's something that you generally didn't see us in. And what happened with me, I would go up, I would be, Larry would book me to go to some of the most expensive places in New York, okay? And up and around Brooklyn. And I would open the door, actually, they would open the door, and I would say, "Hi, my name is Elgin, I'm here from having a party." And you gotta be black to know what this is like. They had to put on their "I didn't know that you was blackface" when they opened the door, and they caught themselves because Larry would book me out. He wouldn't say what race I was, but I would show up in the door at the door with my black, talented, artistic self and introduce myself to the people. And a lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people were off balanced by it. And you could just catch a vibe or catch an attitude from them. And what I had to do when I would go to these places, I had a very specific way that I needed to have set up. When I started doing my own jobs, also, I had a contract where I would write down specifically what I needed it, and I would have the person sign it so that they were clear. But people oftentimes don't follow directions, and when a black guy comes in there and starts what they consider barking orders, they get an attitude and don't really want to work with you as fast. I remember there was a party that I worked for very, very talented artists. I won't mention their name because it might embarrass them, but they were white. And we had many gigs where we tag teamed together. And I was telling them that I said, "Clients, you'll notice, treat me differently than they treat you." And so they disagreed. We had a friendly argument back and forth. And I said, "Okay, watch this. Don't say anything." Now, mind you, this person that was with me, they were there because of me. I was the boss of this job, okay? I wrote the contracts. I hired them to come along with me. But as soon as I opened the door and I was dressed, Wife. I was dressed to the nines. I'm not going to answer that because this is live. So I was dressed to the nines, and they came right up to that person and started talking to them. They completely passed me by. I was dressed to the nines. The other person was dressed casually, and they started talking to them purely because they're white. And what my partner had to do, they waited until the person finished asking their questions and said, "He's my boss. He's the one in charge." Now, here's how you be professional. I never, ever let people's responses to me, if I caught a vibe, or if they gave me attitude, or if they kind of seemed like they didn't want to work with me, or they made me wait for my money, I was always professional. I was always polite. I was always patient. And I remembered what Larry said, because when you go out to do your job, especially if you're doing it for an agent, you represent their company. When I was doing jobs for having a party, I wasn't just Elgin Subway Surfer Bowling, your creative caricature marketing consultant. No, I was having a party employee. That's what I was. And anything that I did or didn't do would reflect heavily on Larry's company. And I carried that particular attitude um, into every job that I did. When I had other agents, I realized from Larry that if you're representing the company, What you're actually doing by being polite, by being patient, by being professional, what you're doing for the company is you're elevating it so that the client will hire more people from that company. And it's just a very, very valuable lesson that I always remembered. And this is my lesson to you. Always carry yourself as a professional. Because what happens with people is when you carry yourself that way, they notice and they tell other people, and so on and so on and so on. The caricature business is like that. If people like you, they'll tell their friends and they'll tell their friends, and so on and so on. So you want people to be happy with you. Okay, keep your temper in its place, and you'll make lots of money doing this. So this is Elgin Subway Surfer Bowling, your creative caricature marketing consultant.